You're listening to Chatcast with your host, Tracee Dunblazier, the award-winning podcast that features interviews with luminaries of the mind-body-spirit marketplace. You'll hear from book authors and publishers, store owners and product creators, filmmakers, musicians, and many more, who'll all share insight and wisdom to help open your eyes to new creative possibilities. If you fancy yourself as a visionary thinker, then Chatcast is the place for you. Now, here's your host, spiritual empath, shaman, and best-selling author, Tracee Dunblazier.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Chatcast. My name is Tracee Dunblazier, and I am a spiritual empath, and I'm the president of the Coalition of Visionary Resources. And today we're going to be chatting with the amazing Karyn Reese on behalf of the Conscious Life Expo, where we are both going to be in February the 7th, 8th, and 9th, I believe. So welcome, Karyn. Now, just so you know a little about Karyn, she's a celebrity psychic medium. She's electrifying. She's also renowned for her captivating and presence and remarkable attention to detail. Evidential psychics there are all kinds of the clairs. There's all kinds of spiritual ways to describe the way a person tunes into spirituality. And to be an evidential psychic is a specific thing, and it's not something that everybody can do. And so that's part of what you do, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly. You must be psychic.
Yeah, see?
Two good nights think alike, Exactly.
Welcome. So how long have you been doing this work?
I was born this way. When I was a kid, I used to sit in the crib, and I remember a woman visiting me. But it didn't help either having a mom that was psychic. But she never said we were psychic. She would just say, oh, I saw 3 monks. There's going to be a plane crash, yada, yada, yada. We just thought it was absolutely normal. My father's side, they were Mensa members. That's why I have a background in business. I used to be a stockbroker. But since I was a kid, I would give readings and know things. And at the age of 7, I predicted my father's passing. 3 weeks later, he died unexpectedly of a stroke, which he shouldn't have. And then the rest is history. I will say, though, it's awkward teenage moments when you're a psychic, trying to balance it out, especially when you have the heartthrobs, father that dies 2 weeks earlier and he's haunting you in 8th grade, history class. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah.
Yes, that's very interesting. You and I have similar. That's similar to me. My father died when I was 10, and he'd had cancer, but nobody had told us. And so I too had a premonition that he would die, and 2 months later he died, which was unexpected. Anyway, that's very interesting. And so and I was born this way. I was born this way.
Yeah. Well, it's very common too, Trace, that a lot of psychics have home lives very disrupted at early ages, whether divorce, split relationships, or like in our case. And it was just God's way of preparing you and me, with our premonitions, because sometimes people say, well, if you get something that's sort of scary, a scary premonition like that, I'm like, yeah, but it's just God's way of preparing you.
Right.
Absolutely. Didn't prepare me for cooking, though. I don't cook. I can't boil water. That's one thing Karyn doesn't do,
Well, you know what? If you don't need to, then all the better.
Right. I still love you. You are the best.
I have an inner witch. So I love making soups. I love cooking. Cooking is my healing modality. And I can never do the same thing twice.
Really? So when I come over, I'll bring the wine, I'll do the dishes, and you can do the cooking. Perfect.
100%. I love that so much. And occasionally if somebody is better at cutting onions than I am, because I'm so sensitive that the onions sometimes are a little too much, but there are ways to get around that.
That is funny. I don't do onions. I hate onions. So there you go. We'll just subtract and one less thing to do,
Exactly. That's hilarious. So tell me something about you that people don't know, because you've been doing this for a while and you're popular. People know who you are. So tell us something that people don't know or wouldn't expect
Okay, so I could be a little bit of a
True
risk
about you.
taker, maybe because I'm an Aries with the Gemini moon and Libra, rising. But one of the things I bought my very first car, I just told this story, it's actually funny, and it was a stick shift. I went, I
Mhm.
said, I want this car. This guy looked at me like I was nuts. He didn't want to sell it. I go, no, I want this car. It's a stick. Bought the car, didn't know how to drive stick, had 10 minutes in the parking lot with a friend of mine that knew how to drive stick, and then
Right.
drove home. Now, I will say that's
Wow.
probably not the best thing ever because I had to go up and down hills. That's how I
Yes.
really learned how to drive a stick. Yeah,
Yes.
and I did that for, like, an hour. But, hey, you
Yes.
learn the hard way. So that's a little bit of my personality. Sometimes I do things ass backwards.
Right.
Same thing, like, with my college, I was studying I thought about being a plastic surgeon. I was artistically gifted. I did portraits, but I was very smart in science, and my first semester, I said, "Well, I don't wanna waitress my way through college." I was a poor kid, when you have one single parent, you know how that is.
Right.
And, I saw an advertisement to be a stockbroker, so I went down, took the exam, passed it, switched everything around. Again, ass backwards. It's kind of like a
Yes.
game, so just some crazy
Yes.
things, along that line. And I used to figure skate as a kid, but I would because
Wow.
my brother was Canadian, so you know how you
A lot
skate
of
with
ice.
yeah, right. Now I just skate on thin ice in more ways than one, right? You know?
Exactly. That's very interesting. I mean, it sounds to me, I mean, I feel this way about my experience as well. It sounds like you pick the most challenging thing first. Like whatever's going to be like whatever, if you're going to learn how to drive, you're going to take the most challenging part of driving and then work into the easy part.
Exactly. Sounds like my relationship life too. No. It's all, circular. It's all connected,
Exactly. Exactly.
So
So how did you begin working with celebrities? Like what makes that different for you?
This is a funny story. So, being psychic, and you are definitely one of the best ones out there. And I'm hard to please. I mean, there's everybody has intuition, but you get it.
Right.
Not everybody. And I remember seeing as a kid that I would end up having national TV connections. And my
Mhm.
very first show, I applied to this blank email, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna, respond to it. And I was chosen one out of like 1,200 psychics that they interviewed, and I ended up doing that. And then from there, the doors just kept opening. People found out about me. They saw me on set. Producers mentioned my name. So that's how
Yeah.
that actually started. Um,
Interesting.
yeah. So I mean, it's kind of funny. It's allergy season, by the way, and I have 6 kids.
Yes.
I am the cat lady, by the way. Everybody, you know.
Yes, absolutely. You can see this is Tijaba.
Oh, Tijaba. Tiji looks like my Coco. How cute, Tijaba. That's a cute name. So you're like me, yeah.
She is a powerhouse. She is a powerhouse. She will give you your space until she's hungry, and then she's like,
We know cat language, right? Yes.
exactly.
Diaper
You
chat.
don't love me, you're just hungry.
Exactly. They put their little fannies on your, face. Yeah. Yeah. I've got 6 of them, one in diapers, so
Oh,
yeah. She's like Houdini. I call her Houdini. Her name is Phoebe because, she gets out of I bathe her and then she gets out of her diaper and I'm like, "Really? Really? Let's just put your diaper on." You know.
yeah, that's a tremendous thing to take care of I don't even want to say alien, but an aging animal or one that's has health challenges. It's a tremendous thing. I have nursed 3 cats into their early 20s.
Oh, wow.
So usually if they make it past 15, you usually need hydration and
Exactly.
subcutaneous fluids and
Yeah.
medication, and
Yep.
so
Yeah.
yeah, God bless you for
Insane.
that.
Yes, the insanity, just
Hmm.
insanity. But then we talk to dead people every day too. I was doing that earlier, and they visit me in my dreams. So I don't know if
Yes,
you get that experience where sometimes
yes,
you've got readings scheduled the next day, and somebody's husband shows up in your dream, and then you call them. Oh, your husband, Lee was in
yes,
my dreams last night. Too bad Lee didn't
yes.
do the dishes or offer to do something. But I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, that is that. Do you mostly get your information through dreaming, or is it clairvoyance as well, or in all the ways?
That's a good question. I get it mostly through vision and hearing, but I get a lot of visitors in my dreams. I don't like when I get, smells, which occasionally you get those.
Yeah, I get
When you get-
smells.
Yeah, that's not my fave. Sometimes like one time I was driving and some kid was in my car. He had died and he died in like an alcoholic related. And my car actually smelled like alcohol. I was actually on my way. This is
Yes.
years ago to some get together. And I had to get out of my car because I'm thinking,
Yes.
I'm pulled over. Cop's going to think I'm drinking. I don't even drink.
Yes.
So sometimes I'm not a big fan, but I'll see dead people and I'll see like TV screens for people's past, present, and future above their head.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I'll see it like that, and then
Uh-huh.
dead people will tell me things. Dirty little
Okay.
secrets. Sometimes I tell people, watch it. They know what's going on, but
Yeah,
sometimes,
they do.
in the dreams too. So yeah, it's crazy. Try
That's
to
so
tell your
interesting.
doctor this.
Yes.
I've done that though. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
When the doctors say, "How does this work?" I have one doctor, he's very, pancake straight, and how does it work? I'm like, well, it's like a frequency. You've seen me on
Mhm.
TV, and so those are always fun.
Yeah.
Little, excitement.
It is. So I have people. The people who come to me are usually are ready to have some sort of conscious uh, awakening or awareness, like the point at which it all makes sense in that, like an epiphany is the word I'm looking for.
Nice.
And what's interesting is that so like one time I had a gal, she was from another country and I'd not met her. We spoke on the phone for the first time, and there was this thing haunting her,
Oh,
and it was haunting her, but it wasn't really revealing itself to me. But I knew it was there. I was working with her, but she just was so angry at this entity. This is actually ended up being a person, and the spirit, because he kept waking her up over and over in the middle of the night, and not just being relentless. And she didn't know if it was like a demonic energy or what exactly it was. Anyway, and after working with her, after that we did one session, and she got off the phone. She was so disgruntled. She was still so frustrated. She didn't believe anything that we talked about. She just
oh.
got upset and got off the phone. And that night, the man came to me. It was a pygmy, but I think in ancient times, and when I say ancient, I don't know, ancient means so many different things today, but so 10, 12,000 years ago, we don't really have a lot of
Mhm.
knowledge of the pygmies in Australia, but there were in fact the part of the pygmy tribe in Australia and Africa.
Mhm.
Anyway, but this was specifically a pygmy. This was a very, very short, stocky man. And he ran up to me in my dream and pinned me up against the wall with my legs like this, up against, and he was right in my face. And I'm like, oh, oh.
Dude. I could see you
And
doing
then
it.
once I realized who it was, because I recognized the energy, you know what I mean? Of the same one he was coming to me how he had been coming to her. And I was like, oh, okay, dude, come on, let's do something about this. So I created a path for him to be delivered to where he needed to go. And after that, she ended up doing another session with somebody else. And that woman told her that she could just forget about it. Just let him go and he would go away. And that coincided with this experience that I'd had that she didn't know about. So it was all true.
Isn't that funny? And that is so true because sometimes you'll get information and people don't resonate with it right away because
Uh-uh.
there's like a reason. Like in this case, you actually had to facilitate this change for her.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, I think in today's society, everything has to be now, now, now. And they don't always realize that things can take time or there's a different method. I
Right.
think the problem is we take our life and we try to make the other world in our frame of understanding in the physical plane, but
Right.
they operate in different ways. Like, so with what you did, you actually facilitated a healing.
Right.
And everything you had spoken to her previously was spot on, but she wasn't understanding that it's a different type of
Yeah.
arrangement. Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me though, Trace. I know you. You are a badass. You go girl. You know?
Okay. So do we want to talk about what's going on in the world? You want to
You
talk
know,
about this momentum? We don't have to talk about politics, but just the momentous change that is taking place.
well, it's so funny. A few years back, I was meditating, and it's so funny how God comes to you. I'm not religious. I'm very much about God. I've had a near death that I had maybe about 15 years ago, but as a kid, I've always gone out of body and whatever. We all do that.
Right,
And I think right now, when you take a look, we're going through the next phase. So, sometimes you got to have the waves before you get to the next level.
right,
And what I'd seen, to be honest with you, I'd seen this like hand gripping the earth, and it was a demonic-y hand. And then all of a sudden I hear, look, Karyn, and I hear swish, swish, and I saw some angelic wings come up from behind. So I think we're starting to transition out of some of the darkness and more into the light. Because I tell people, even when people get very negative, there's lessons to be learned. We all have
sure,
the ability to make choices. And so I think we're starting to like lift up again. But it's never easy because we're so used to, nobody likes change. I think change
right,
is fun though, but life's, we come here and we know before we come here that, it's going to be like a game, life is a game. So, you're going to be given challenges, you don't have to
right,
watch Big Brother. You could just like look in the mirror and say, okay, what's my life all about?
right,
But I do think that we've got some positive changes coming. It's just whether or not, how fast we want to, go after them. And, there's always like learning lessons. That's what I tell people.
hmm,
Life is about lessons. So,
absolutely.
you know,
So, if you could do one thing with your work in your lifetime, what would that be?
my goal is to do something with animals. And I'm always saying although it's not necessarily psychic, although I get a lot of animals in my readings and whatever, but my idea is like, let's not test on animals. We could test on criminals, let them put back, if they're really bad criminals, just a thought. That's one of my biggest goals. I think we're here to be angels to the animals on earth. I mean, they're here to teach us, but you and I are both big animal lovers, and I think
Right,
that they teach us. So that would be one of the things. The other thing I want to do is try to explain to people you can do whatever you want. Don't let your fears hold you back. So
right.
those would be the two things, because fears usually hold us back in every which way, but animals and fears. One thing I
Okay.
will never do is cooking, so that you're guaranteed. For a food group, can frozen takeout and reservation, but those would be the two things that I would like to do, or use my platform if I can't use the psych again, but using the platform to promote those, belief systems.
Yes, absolutely.
And the other
Absolutely.
thing too is I think people should learn to rely more on their intuition. You get that pit in your stomach, right? You get
Mhm,
that gut feeling. So, we always have that to look at. It's like believing, trusting,
mhm,
you don't have to understand everything, just
right.
know if that's what you're getting because you can't always explain what we do. I mean, I say frequency like a radio wave, which communicates it, but still some people don't. And some people they don't believe it unless they experience it. And some people they're tuned off for whatever reason that they are
Right.
never going to want to. Although they've had it. Everybody gets gut intuitions, that pit in the stomach. They'll try to ration it up
Absolutely.
with something else, but you and I both know.
Absolutely. I think that there's a real difference between when a person experiences things on empathetic
Mhm.
frequencies, so you feel it emotionally, so it's visceral,
Yes.
compared to uh, being psychic. When you're psychic, you visualize it, you see it, but it's outside of you. So unless it's
Yes.
something personally triggering, it doesn't it doesn't impact you the same way it would when you're empathizing with
So
the energy or
true.
information. And so I think that that is where we are at. There's a cataclysm of those two parts of ourselves that must integrate. People who don't experience empathy must, and people who don't experience detachment, I guess, if you will, like the ability to
Mhm.
witness the energy without being attached to it or within it or it within you. Like I feel like there's a cataclysm that's taking place that's allowing all of us to become more in balance with
Mhm.
what we personally lack. And I think I think that at this period of time, there's what we're all going through. Of course, there's the awakenings. We're all
Mhm.
learning different things, but absolutely, some are going to experience it differently, and it's going to impact people differently.
Mhm.
And I think that we've got to start connecting to the understanding of that.
So true. You
You
could have
know,
said that. So, so true. It's funny because years ago, I remember hearing we need, I was meditating And I was just trying to chillax. But when you get those messages, and
Yeah.
I get them all, and I'm always like, God, why are we doing this? And God's like, Karyn, I've had it with your mouth. You're a pain in the ass, right? But I heard, we need more people like you. I go, who just said that? I was like, need more people like me. I don't cook. Okay, just saying. Okay, so I see dead people and I look at the future. But, in hindsight, I look at it now because, more and more people are becoming more receptive to what you and I do,
Right.
you know. And when you think about it, when Moses walked the earth, Moses was very psychic.
Mm-hmm.
Moses lived to what, like 500 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
things were different. So, that's a whole nother part that I think have eliminated from our repertoire, but now we're starting to come back in and embracing that more and more.
Right. Absolutely.
And we could use it to our advantage.
Okay, so I have one final question.
Yes, darling.
If you were going to give a piece of advice to a beginning practitioner as a business or somebody who is now like awakening to their own psychic abilities, let's make that two questions, a two-parter. Part A is the advice you give to somebody who's awakening into their psychic gifts. And part B is the person who's starting a business in this realm.
Those are two really good questions. So the first one, and I love business. I work with a lot of business people. The first one would be, trust with what you get. You don't have to, figure it out. If you're getting information and you're working with somebody, you give what you get. Don't try to worry about don't try to interpret it, and trust with what you get, whether it's your own personal or you're giving it to somebody, because that's the biggest hurdle. Most people, am I really getting it right? Say what you get. Don't try to dissect it. And if somebody, is giving you a hard time, just give it. Just tell them, hang on to it, right? Because it may not be something that is in the current. It could be something into the future. So trust what you get. Don't double, And when it comes to business, I would say the best thing is just to keep your eyes focused on what your goal is, because you're going to have bumps. It's business. You'll get people that will try to keep you, they'll try to detract you. They'll try to give you a hard time. If your love is to do this business, you're going to have to ignore those that are going to try to, take you off your path, because this is such a weird business.
It really
and
is.
people, and as well as I know, that are very religious, and they try to, they may, verbally attack you, whatever. That always is hilarious. But you got to do with what is right for you. And, the hell with everybody. That's what I say,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Karyn, how can people get in touch with you or participate in the work you do?
They can go to my website, karynreese.com, KarynReece.com. And I have a live Instagram every Wednesday at 8:00 Eastern, as well as all my other, things that go on in my life. I guess that would be it. So, but
Nice.
yeah, so that'd be the best way. But I appreciate you having me on your podcast. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And of course, she's going to be Saturday at 2 p.m. That would be the 8th. It's February 6th, 7th, and 8th, and Saturday is the 8th at 2 p.m. You can buy those tickets at consciouslifeexpo.com. You definitely want to see her in person, because she is not only incredibly entertaining, but so interesting and insightful. It'll knock your socks off. So thank you so much, Karyn. It's been a pleasure to spend this extra time with you. And if you have a minute, hold on when as I sign off and put the outro in.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. This has been Tracee Dunblazier with Chatcast on behalf of the Conscious Life Expo, and we will see you next time.
You've been listening to Chatcast with your host, Tracee Dunblazier. Join us next time as we continue to open your eyes to more creative possibilities in the mind, body, spirit marketplace. Thanks for listening.